In cup action, we are in Beefy Pool number 18. I feel like that's a pretty popular football player that I know, one that I like a lot. Maybe don't want to bring it up because I feel like if I do, Rocky Top just comes to mind and we don't want that. This is the group. It changed from what it was initially, which is hilarious because I remember when I picked this team, like, wow, I play Boise State, who I know I'm playing out of conference, and I play North Carolina and Pat, who I also play in conference. So it was two games I knew for sure would be on my schedule. I think Jacksonville State was one of the other teams. I think there was another mid major. I can't remember. It's two mid major teams. So it ultimately likely, in terms of if you're looking at just team overalls, would it come down to Florida State, North Carolina, Boise, and then the other two teams, if they could score some upsets, play themselves into it. But as a 5 team group, this is just 4. And how things have turned out is pretty hilarious to me. I get to play Baylor and Coach C Nasty. Honestly, I don't think I've ever played him, even back on the PS2. We've never crossed paths. So looking forward to having a matchup against him. He's got Baylor again this season. He had him last season. New Mexico State, one of the non-power conference teams here. There is no coach. So we'll see a matchup there. I played New Mexico State a couple of seasons ago when I had New Mexico as a rival game. Coach Old School, I believe, had them. And then the real fun one, SSI, Coach West, Tulane, Green Wave. I just came from that school. He's got them. MGR and him are rivals, so by default, as a Nebraska fan, he's slightly a rival too. So I don't want to let Nebraska down. I don't want to let MGR down. I got to get a win against them. So we'll see what we can do. But there are 3 matchups, so let's take a look at the overalls and see how they look. I think that this kind of turned out well for the teams involved, at least on my end. We'll have to take a deeper look here when we look at the ratings. So looking at the ratings in these cup matchups, I mentioned earlier that this is things kind of turned out nice for me. What I meant is home and away, not necessarily coaches or matchups, just home field advantage. I have 2 road games. I believe of the 4 teams, Baylor is the other power conference team, but I'm pretty sure that Florida State has the better home field advantage. So I only play 1 home game. Unfortunately, though, it is against New Mexico State. Now, there's no coach yet, but man, that is not fun to walk into New Mexico State and then to play at Florida State. You're already going to be in a disadvantage speed-wise. It's an uphill battle for sure. We'll see. This is one of those games, if we're going to try to advance, remember the top 2 advance out of every group. So if I want to advance, this is definitely going to be a game I have to win, especially because it's at home. I only have 1. Got to take advantage of it. Overall, +8, +9 on offense, +12 on defense. You know the team speed is definitely going to be a concern. And even though New Mexico State will probably try to slow down the game or maybe spread it out, we have size too, so we can make things interesting. The key thing is not turning the ball over. I have a tendency to just go on those Jameis Winston tears where I just throw picks left and right. So we got to try to avoid that in this game. If we do, we have to make it tough on New Mexico State, make them earn this win. Can't do things to help them out. Then we'll be on the road for a matchup against Baylor, Coach C Nasty. 80 overall, so there will be some HFA here because it's a power conference team. But in terms of power conferences, I'd argue the Big 12 probably has the smallest advantage in comparison to the ACC and especially to the Big 10. We know the SEC is in a class of its own. We don't even talk about that. Being on the road in the SEC is literally like playing a handicap match. Those handicap matches in the WWF, WWE days with a special guest referee. It's a complete uphill battle. No tag, too. But we have the better team talent here, better defense. It will be a road matchup. This should be a fun test. Probably going to be one of my first spins with this team. Corey has played with Baylor for an additional season, so he has better understanding of what works for his team. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out, and I've never played against him, so I'm just really excited to play someone new. not even just someone new, someone that's been a vet of the NDL, has been around in the league far before I have. So I'm really looking forward to matching up against them. And then a fun matchup here. I'm just laughing because of our chat on the on Discord over this one. On the road, overalls are the same. 85 versus 85. Tulane is not a bad squad. They've got some talent. Trust me, I know. I got to coach this team last season. Maybe that plays into my favor. I've got to see a lot of what works for this team and what doesn't work. Players to spotlight, players to take advantage of with mismatches. So we're going to see how we fare against a team that I know reasonably well. Wes is a solid coach. He's had a lot of success in the NDL. He's won a championship, so he definitely is capable of beating anyone. Offensively, the favor will go to Tulane. Defensively, the favor will go to us. Team speed, while in our favor, isn't so drastically teetered over to Florida State. They have speed at receiver, and they can go deep. It's not just Williams. They have a speedy running back. They've got some speed defensively, not as much at Florida State, but they have been in key spots, and they've got some guys on the defensive line that can make life hell. And we don't have a great offensive line, so the trench battle could play in their favor. Honestly, it could play in their favor maybe on both sides of the ball. So it could be a game where the back seven and the skill position players have to do a little more work for us. They might be able to control the game at the line of scrimmage, and that would definitely play in their favor. They're at home, not a great home field advantage, but again, it's not playing at Florida State where it clearly is in our favor. So it should be a fun matchup. Hey, we'll see what we can do. Definitely make sure that I try to represent Nebraska well, even though I'm not wearing the unis. And that wraps up everything schedule-wise for Florida State. We've taken a look at the rosters earlier this week. We've looking at the regular season schedule. We've looked at the Cup. Now it's just time to get ready for some action. So hopefully it's April 1st. Hopefully before the start of the season, we'll be able to get some action in some Cup games, get some practice, maybe have to jump in and play a blitz game or two just so I can get comfortable with this team and get used to playing again. It's been a while. Definitely was a little tough coming out of surgery, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Still not 100%, but getting there a lot faster than I was expecting to. So I'm hopeful that defensively I'll be able to be more impactful than I was in the second half of the season with Tulane, and I'm ready to roll. So let's go Seminoles, and let's have a good season 32 NDL.